Hi, you guys. It's Miss Layton. Turn up my volume just in case. I don't know if that makes a difference. So we're gonna get into the elements and principles today. I'm gonna do two separate videos, one for the elements and principles, and one for the elements of art, and one for the principles of design, just so you guys can break it up a little bit as need be. You need to be taking notes on this. You will have a quiz on this, so make sure you are writing things down, pause it as you need to. Also, just a reminder that sometimes if I say something and you want to write what I'm saying down versus what's on the slide, that's totally fine, as long as whatever you're writing down makes sense to you. That's all I care about. Okay, so you guys should be able to see me over here, and on the left side of my screen, you'll see the slideshow. So starting with elements of art, the top of your notes should say elements of art, and then your notes will go below. So title that now. And your first term is line. So line is one of those terms that seems really obvious, and it's kind of like, why are you teaching us this, Miss Layton? The reason I'm teaching you line is because line's really important with regard to the different types of line and the way in which we might use them. So looking on that left-hand side of on the screen, on the slideshow, you can see all those different lines on there. You have a variety of different types of line, and they would be used for different things. If you wanted something to stand out, really bold, then obviously you want to use like a bold, thicker line, versus if you want it to be very subtle, very kind of like maybe not even noticeable, you're going to want to use that super duper fine line. So technically, the definition of line is the path of a point moving through space. So if you go to the slideshow, it is in your folder, pause me, and click on the link, you'll see a video of a meteor shower. So a meteor shower kind of shows us paths of points moving through space. When you see a shooting star, you see the trail behind it. Technically, the star itself is not a line. The star is a circle, right? It's a dot. But as it moves, it creates that line. So that's kind of how I want to jog your memory. And how do you think about that? A really famous artist named Paul Klee has a quote that says, "A line is a dot that went for a walk." So to me, that kind of makes a lot of sense in terms of like, it's a dot, and then it just keeps moving and it creates a line behind it. So again, think of those meteors. That makes sense. Okay, so next two terms, two separate terms, right? Number one is shape. Shape is a two-dimensional thing, right? Whereas form is three-dimensional. Three-dimensional meaning I could like hold it in my hand. So I think of this, okay, can of soda. It is a cylinder, right? So I can actually hold on to this. It's three-dimensional. Whereas something that's just flat is going to be two-dimensional. So next to shape, I want you to draw a couple examples of shapes. And next to form, you're going to draw a couple examples of form. So pause me if you need to take a second to do that. All right, next slide is color. So color as a term is pretty hard to explain because it comes down to a lot of scientific components of light refracting and creating different colors. We're not going to really get into that. We're going to kind of keep it simple, keep it basic. So all colors begin from the primary colors, red, blue, and yellow. So if you look on the slides and you look in the middle, right here, you see the three primary colors. Right outside of those three primary colors are the secondary colors that you get if you combine those primary colors. So if I combine red and yellow, I get orange. Same thing, red and blue, I get purple. Blue and yellow, I get green. So your primary colors are red, blue, and yellow. Write that down. Your secondary colors, spelled right here, are orange, green, and purple. Write that down. What you do not need to write down, but I'm going to tell you about anyways, are the tertiary colors. So tertiary colors are the colors that sit in a color wheel in between a primary and a secondary color. So if you look right here, you can see between the red and the orange, You have a red orange. So it's a combination color. So it's a color that would literally read red-orange, right? Versus just red or orange. So tertiary, you don't need to know this. I'm just giving you this information. This will not be on the test. So all colors can be made darker or lighter by including either white or black when you mix the colors. So as anyone who's ever worked with paints of any type, you know how this works. You've seen this happen. So we call in art, making it lighter, you're creating a tint of the color. And to make it darker, you're creating a shade. So think of shade, think of shadow, it's darker. Whereas a tint, I think of things that are tinted, they're like almost white, but they're just tinted with a teeny bit of a color. So maybe a teeny bit of pink or a teeny bit of blue, something that's very, very, very pale. All right, moving on. So value. Value is a term that we know of when we think of cost. So we think of value as in something is valued at a certain price. Maybe a home is valued at a certain price, or a diamond in a movie and it's valued as $1 million billion, whatever it is. We think of value as having some kind of weight in terms of a number. So when I think about value and I think about art, I'm referring, value, the term, is referring to the relative lightness and darkness of a color, black and white. So if you look here, you're able to see the full value scale. Sometimes we call it a gradient, but for this, you're calling it a value or a value scale. You can see kind of the main colors here in the middle. You see all the shades and all the tints. So I would love you to write down black plus color equals shade and white plus color equals tint. So those are going to be on the test. If you are someone who processes things by like a number scale, if you're someone who really likes math, you could kind of think about this as a number scale, starting with 0 and having your positive and negative numbers. If that helps you to make sense of it, go for it. That's kind of that. Very weird talking to a screen and not you guys. I'd prefer to talk to you guys. All right, texture. Do not write this all down. There's a ton of text on this slide. Please, like, don't go there right away. Let me talk to you. Let me explain this. Okay, so texture refers to surface quality. So surface quality meaning if I feel something, what does it feel like? Okay, so if I feel, say, my phone is like a smooth, glassy surface, right? Versus this coaster is kind of like a bumpy, corky texture because it's made out of cork, right? So surface quality is the way something feels, and texture refers to the surface quality. So texture can be one of two types. You're gonna write this down. You're gonna write down that there is one type of texture that is real texture, so something that actually has that feel to it, right? So let's see, I have this cool little piece of coral rock. So if I look at this and I actually feel it, I can feel all the pits and indents and kind of the dusty feeling of the rock. The actual texture is what I'm feeling, right? It's what's actually there. Versus something that is made to look like it has that texture, but it does not. So for example, my podium in the classroom is made to look like it's wood, but it is not actually wood, it's plastic, right? It's printed to look like wood, but it is not actually wood. So that is implied. So we use the term implied when we talk about maybe that I'm not directly saying like, wow, you're doing that thing wrong, but the way I'm saying it kind of implies that you're doing something wrong. Same thing here. It doesn't actually have the texture. It's just made to look like it has the texture. It's implied that it has the texture. Okay. All right. So the last one of your elements of art, I'm going to pause the recording after this one and you will have 2 videos, right? So you're going to have the elements of art and the principles of design. You will be responsible for both things. You got to know both of them. They're all going to be on the test. Okay. So space and perspective, 2 separate words, similar concept. So space refers to the literal layout of an artwork, okay? So if I was given this piece of paper and someone said, I need you to create an advertisement for this new kind of fancy soap, and you need to decide where is all the information going to go. Is the title going to go maybe in the middle, or is it going to go at the top, or is it going to go at the bottom? Is it going to be large? Is it going to be small? You're changing the layout of the actual piece. So you're looking at the actual space and seeing, like, do I want to have the image of the soap in the middle, and then maybe the name of the soap is above, and then the small print of where can I buy it is going to be at the bottom. Basic advertising, right? If you put that name of the product super tiny down here, no one's ever going to know it. No one's ever going to remember it. So I'm looking at the space of the paper and deciding where to place things. You guys utilize space every single time you start an artwork, right? Perspective is a little bit different. Perspective essentially is the way I, as the artist, am seeing things, and therefore the way I want you, as the viewer, to perceive them, to see them, okay? So if I look at this image, it is drawn to make it look like you as the viewer are standing in that hallway and seeing that whole experience, right? That's not actually what you're seeing a flat artwork, but it's drawn to make it look like that is the case. So when you think of perspective, that's going to be kind of like, what is the artist seeing, and therefore what are they trying to have me see? And in this situation, it is drawn in a way that you would perceive it to be that way. I know this is confusing, but it's important to learn. So you have perspective here, you have space here. It's kind of showing us sort of breaking down the space in the artwork and what areas maybe have like less active space and more active space where there's really a lot to look at versus like in this one, there's kind of not a whole lot to look at, okay? All right, so you are going to move on to the principles of design. I'm going to stop this recording right now and you will move on to the next video.